Evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Muscogee County Coaches Show. As every other week, we interview a bunch of coaches from Muscogee County schools as we are in spring sports, as baseball, the regular season is almost finished. We've got soccer, tennis, golf, excited, even lacrosse over there in Columbus. I'm going to have a couple of coaches on this week, and then I've already talked to several coaches about having them on the show in the next couple of weeks, but I am excited about the first Muscogee County coach that we have here on the show because the team has played incredible. We had a chance to see them last week on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I am privileged to welcome the Jordan Red Jackets baseball coach, Coach David Lane. How are you doing, Coach?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right, Coach. Let's talk a little about your background. Where did you play baseball? How long you been the baseball coach at Jordan? And what's some of your coaching backgrounds as well?
Yes, sir. So I'm originally from McDonough, Georgia. It's a little bit south of Atlanta. Made my way down to Gordon College, played 2 years of junior college baseball there, and then got a little scholarship to Columbus State, which I finished my degree there, and that's how I ended up here in Columbus. This is my third year as head coach of Jordan High School. I was a previously assistant coach for Coach Dimitri back in the beginning of 2018 season, all the way up until I took over. So I have
Well,
quite a bit of familiarity with Jordan baseball.
absolutely. And you talk about the progression of Jordan baseball. They're having a fantastic season, 13-5 overall, 9-2 in the region. You made the playoffs the last couple of years. You want to continue to build up on that. Do you feel like the team has gotten to a point where not only they can make the playoffs, but they can make some noise in the playoffs? Because the last couple of years, it's been playoff round exits. I know you want to continue to improve and to win a playoff series, but it looks like right now, if the season ended today, you would be hosting because right now you would be the number 2 seed.
Right. And yeah, that's definitely a goal of ours, is to continue, making more progress throughout the postseason. We've kind of proved to ourselves the past few years we can make the playoffs. Now it's just a matter of believing in ourselves that, we belong there, and we belong in those next rounds as well. We're just as good as some of those other teams. But it all just comes down to believing in ourselves. I think years past, we have those good seasons, good enough to make it to the playoffs. And then once we get there, we're kind of shell shocked once we see how, top some of these other programs, how nice their fields are. Those are some of the things that we've been trying to instill in our guys, is just believe in yourselves and just play baseball. At the end of the day, it's just, high school kids playing against other high school kids. So,
Well, Coach, I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks, you've had some impressive wins over some really good teams. Back on March the 18th, you defeated Shaw at home 7-6. And then last Friday, probably the game of the year, you saw it on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, 2-1 over Hardaway. Hardaway had a 1-0 lead going into the fifth, and your team was able to manufacture a run to tie it in the fifth and a run to take the lead in the sixth, led by the arm of Bradley Smith, who pitched fantastic. Just talk about just playing in a close game like that, how it just builds up confidence, especially when you get a little bit of a break before you have to have that rematch with Columbus next week.
hmm those close games in the past, we've been kind of on the other side of those, losing some of those close games and not being able to finish out. But just here lately at practice, we've just been trying to really preach and instill in our guys, like doing our job at the plate, doing our job on the mound. If this guy can do his job and the guy behind him does his job, we have a chance to, score some runs. And then that, for example, in that Hardaway game, we were down 1-0 most of the game. So we just felt like our pitching was good enough. Bradley was strong enough. If we could just find a way to get a guy on, get him over, get him in, we would have a good chance of winning that ball game.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, this team, it's really, it starts with the pitching because Bradley Smith has just pitched phenomenally this year with a 2.41 earned run average. I mean, he had that complete game in the 2-1 victory over Hardaway. You also got Cole Williams. He's having a good season.
Hmm.
Talk about some of the other arms that really helps. Brody Caitlin, who's only a freshman, he is also leading the way with a 1.79 earn run average. Cole Williams with a 1.12 earn run average. I mean, you got when it comes to starting pitching, the key is you know that the playoffs are going to be a best of three. So if you have two solid
Hmm.
starters, you feel confident, and having that third starter just in case it gets to a game three if necessary. Just talk about what it means just having three solid starting pitchers.
It's incredible. We're very blessed, to have the arms that we have. Especially, we left out Cade Evans. He was my reigning region pitcher of the year last year in that Macon region.
Oh yeah,
Um, I know his stats doesn't show it as well, but he's also pitched in some really, really tough games, against Opelika and Schley, Pacelli game. So he's had some really tough opponents this year as well. But we have all the confidence in him going forward, down the stretch. But yeah, if we can just get to the 3 game series, and with the 4 starting pitchers we have, and then some of our other guys coming out of the bullpen, we really do feel like we can hang with anybody right now.
yeah. I did forget about Cade Evans. He actually is second on the team in 20 innings pitched, and I think that's very important to have that fourth starter because you're not just gonna play region games. I mean, there might be a week where you're playing region opponents, you're playing non-region opponents, and you might end up having 3 or 4 games a week. And I think when it comes to the overall ranking, it's important that you're padding your resume. You're not only winning region games, but you're winning the non-region games as well because it might help your position when it comes to playoff time.
That's one of the kind of things we're hoping for too. Is just finish well enough where we can maybe try to host a game instead of traveling so far this year. So that's been one of our big goals. But at the end of the day, I kind of just preach to our guys: don't worry about those rankings that you see on Max Preps. Let's just keep playing one game at a time, and let's just finish out the season strong, and just play some of the best baseball we can right here toward the end.
I tell you what, I've been impressed not only with Bradley Smith on the mound, but he is leading the team in batting average with a 426 batting average. How important is it to have a guy where you don't need a DH because Bradley Smith can be your hitter in the lineup when he's on the mound, and when he's not pitching, you can either put him in the field or have him as your DH.
I mean, it's really, really nice to have a guy that you can play anywhere. I mean, he's played some right field for us this year when Brody's came in to pitch. He plays short when one of our other second basemen has to come in, and that guy slides over to second. He's our starting third baseman when Cade Evans is on the mound. I mean, if I needed him to catch, he would be one of the first guys that said, "Yeah, coach, I can fill in and catch." Um, and obviously, just having his bat in the lineup, he's just a good, solid at bat. He's going to give us, a good AB. He's going to see some pitches. He's going to work the count. And right now he's as hot as he is. He's going to probably find a way on base. So just having him, in that lineup, kind of getting things off, has just been really crucial for us as well.
Also, talk about having a player like Cade Evans, who's a senior, who he's been with you what for 3 years now, Coach? Is your third year going in as coach, and Cade has been on your team all three
This
years,
is
right, Coach?
No, sir. It's my third year, but this is on his second year. He transferred into Jordan as a junior.
Oh wow,
So
okay.
this is actually only my second year. Yep, it's only my second year with him. It would have been nice to have him those earlier years as well. But no, this is only his second year with us. But I mean, he's been just a huge blessing to have too. He's a goofball, funny guy. He keeps everybody light. He's kind of the jokester too, but it's also, when it's bottom of the seventh against Shaw, he's locked in and he's going to give us a good at bat and, hopefully pop one and win us a game.
Yeah, and his slugging percentage is off the charts. I mean, he's got 2 home runs on the season, a triple, 2 doubles, batting 311. I do want to talk about your freshman, Brody Caitlin, who at the plate, I mean,
Hmm.
not only he's been one of those players that you can rely on, he's already got 4 triples on the season, but just a young guy to come in there and make an impact. Just talk about how important that is with the future really looking bright for Jordan baseball.
He's an incredible kid to begin with. Just a yes sir, no sir kind of kid, but just loves baseball. That's what I kind of talked back at that sports media day was, we're getting kids in here that just love baseball and want to play baseball just because they love the game, no other reason. But him just being so young and us having him, come in as a ninth grader, that kind of sets our foundation and sets the tone for the, years to come. But yeah, he's just a good, solid kid. He can pitch, play outfield, play a little first base. Obviously, can swing a little bit. He's kind of had some of those freshman growing pains as well, but that's kind of one of the reasons we wanted him in there. Starting as a freshman, get some of those growing pains out of the way. So that way next year as a sophomore, he'll be kind of one of our leaders down the season and stretch.
Absolutely. And he also is leading the team in RBIs. Also, this is another one of your starting pitchers that's got a 179 earned average. I mean, I do want to talk about the regular season is winding down. I mean, you're right now currently in second place, but you got a big game against Columbus coming back from spring break next Tuesday. It's going to be at Randy Jordan Field. Already lost to Columbus at home 9-4, but we know that Columbus has got the history. They've got the state championships, the legendary coach Bobby Howard. I know Coach Greg Mathis has always got them in the playoffs. But talk about that rivalry with Columbus. How big would it be if you guys are able to go into Columbus and get a victory over the Blue Devils?
Not only would it be exciting just to be one of your rival schools, but just giving our guys just the confidence to be able to beat a good baseball team. Um, I know they can do it. I know our entire coaching staff believes in the kids and know they can do it. But just them being able to go over there and prove to themselves that they could beat Columbus, I really think that could set us up really well for the playoffs.
Absolutely. Right now, you're in pretty good position to try to get that 2 seed, but you got Shaw right behind you that's trying to avenge that loss 7-6 at Jordan. You play Shaw the last game of the regular season on the road, but you'll have senior night on the 15th. I know that's a big day for baseball, but you're going to host Carver at Jordan. I know that's going to be a big deal for all your fans. And just talk about just what are you looking forward to with this regular season wrapping up, getting to play, possibly to host a playoff game in the first round, and then just talk about how's the team feeling? How's the team feeling about with the regular season almost coming to a close and getting ready for the playoffs?
We're all excited. The kids are excited, especially after a big win last week and before spring break. But like I mentioned earlier, right now they know we still got 3 big region games left, 5 regular season games. So the job's not done. Season's far from over in our minds. We still have 5 big games left. So we're just going to take it one game at a time and just try to, stay hot and just kind of ride that momentum into the postseason.
Oh, absolutely. Coach, I do want to talk about being a Jordan Red Jacket, what it means, because you have the leadership of Coach Russell Scott. When you think of Jordan athletics, you think of wrestling, track and field, and they do have that state championship from 1971. I mean, Jordan, it prides itself on their alumni. They are proud to be a Jordan Red Jacket. There is a lot of pride in it, and I noticed that when I was there at Jordan Friday afternoon for the first time ever, seeing, by the way, you have an absolutely beautiful baseball facility. I love the setting. It was a great crowd. Just talk about just that atmosphere at the ballpark and all these Jordan fans that were, it was a big rivalry game. Hardaway is only less than 2 miles away, and they brought their fans too, but your fans were very passionate, and it was just a great sight to see. Just talk about those fans and their support for Jordan baseball.
Yeah. Like you said, that's the one thing that, is Jordan is so prideful on it is their alumni. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to Jordan, not from Columbus, but everybody that I talk to around town, if I have a Jordan shirt on, they're like, "Hey, I went to Jordan, or I played baseball at Jordan back in blah 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 days." So there's just so many people that I come in contact with that are Jordan alum. Even one of my assistant coaches, he played baseball at Jordan. So just just trying to keep that tradition. And I know it's not always about wins and losses and things like that, but trying to bring back some wins and trying just to, where Jordan baseball can kind of be back respectable again. That's been one of my goals since taking over.
Coach, talk a little bit about your coaching staff. Who are some of the names on your staff, and basically what is their specialty?
Yeah, so I'll start with Phil Clark. He was with me last year. This is his second year with me. He's a Jordan alumni. Has some affiliation with Travel Ball, with Tri City. Runs or helps out with West Georgia Dixie baseball. So he's just been a big just supporter of baseball in Columbus in general. He just wants to see kids playing baseball. So he's been a great asset to have. One of my new coaches this year, Coach Tyler Cadenhead. Funny story, I actually coached him in travel ball back when he was 12. And I was just getting early into my coaching days in travel ball. But he, played under Tim Fanning at Glenwood. So has so much knowledge, in that history of playing for Coach Fanning, and then also playing for Columbus State University. Played for some of the same guys that I did, and him just being a good young guy, young in his 20s. Just loves to be out there, loves to see the kids getting better, and that's one thing about Jordan is, we may not have all the top resources and things like that, but the kids want to be there. They love baseball, and they love Jordan. And then another guy that's been a huge help this year. He's a volunteer for me, keeps my game changer, just keeps all of my stats, keeps everything in line, keeps me in line with pitch counts, all that good stuff. But his name is Chris Scott, and he's been a huge help this year. Great addition to the team. So yeah, we're a small group, but we buy in. We believe in one another. They know I'm not the type that's going to say it's my way or the highway. No, if you have a good idea, I'm going to roll with it and let's go. So it's just been a really nice group to have this year.
Right, absolutely. And a big shout out to Phil Clark's wife. She was very helpful, making sure that the broadcast was great, top notch. I appreciate them both. They actually let me PA announce a couple years ago for West Dixie baseball, and they're a huge supporter of Jordan baseball.
Awesome.
And it's just great to see. And then I also have Tyler Cadenhead. It's funny you mention him because his wife was the sports information director at Columbus State, who actually allowed me to call games for CSU soccer. So yeah, it's definitely a small world. I'm just excited that we were able to finally make it to Jordan to live stream a game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and it was a great game. And so congratulations on the win, Coach, and good luck the rest of the season. And we're looking forward to live streaming several games down the future. And it was really a privilege having you on the Muscogee County Coaches Show.
Oh, it was incredible. Thank you so much for having me. We appreciate it.
All right, that is the Jordan baseball coach, David Lane. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have the lacrosse coach of Columbus, Coach Stephi Stuart, right here on the Muscogee County Coaches Show. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, my name is Griff Gordy, and here at Gordy Eye Care, we have been serving the Bi-City community for 17 years. As a former state championship quarterback, I love the fact that I can watch local high school athletics from the comfort of my own home. So it was a no-brainer to support Georgia Alabama Sports Live and what they do for young athletes in our area.
And without business like yourself, Gordy Eye Care, none of our coverage would be possible to be able to cover these 16 different high schools, the local colleges, and professional teams. So we'd like to say thank you to you, Dr. Griff Gordy, and Gordy Eye Care for your support of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And you can make an appointment today at Gordy Eye Care with the number 334-291-5125. Keep supporting Gordy Eye Care and keep watching Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
And welcome back to the Muscogee County Coaches Show, as our next coach is a very unique coach because it is the only sport that is in this area. I'm talking about lacrosse. We've got one school that has lacrosse, and we're hoping that this is a growing sport, which maybe other schools in the near future can possibly have a lacrosse team. I am privileged to welcome the head lacrosse coach of the Columbus Lady Blue Devils, Coach Stephi Stuart. How you doing, Coach?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing great. First of all, before we talk about the season and how things are going, just give us a little bit of your background. How long you been the lacrosse coach? Did you play lacrosse in high school? And what were the steps that were taken to start lacrosse in Columbus, and what does lacrosse look like for the future?
So I did play lacrosse in high school. I had the opportunity to play in college as well. I'm actually from Virginia. My husband serves in the Army, so we're stationed at Fort Benning. Currently, this is my first year as the head coach. I was the assistant coach last year, so I'm very blessed to be able to have the opportunity to be the Columbus High lacrosse coach. I was lucky enough to inherit a really strong program. Last year we had a lot of growing pains, but this year we've been able to get the girls together and continue this really strong program that Columbus has had. We're really excited because this year Muscogee County has us at a field up at Midland, and that's our field this year. So we're really excited to have that and to see the sport grow in Muscogee County.
Absolutely. And Terry Gaines Field is a hidden gem in Muscogee County. As I was there on the call against Carrollton, you talk about lacrosse. This is the only lacrosse team in this area. I know when it comes to college, I know LaGrange College has a lacrosse team up the road, but just talk about the growth of the sport. I know that this is a sport that's more popular in the north, but you're starting to see people get more excited about lacrosse. I go to sporting goods stores and I see lacrosse gear. This is something I never saw in California. I never lived in the north, but talk about like the growth of lacrosse and how the season's going and what are some of the steps that were taken to get this thing off the ground.
Yeah, so I'll say this. So I'm from Virginia. So, and I was a field hockey player. So, if you're not playing softball or soccer in the spring, you're doing lacrosse. So, I played all 4 years in high school. And so, but we do play in Atlanta because that's where the sport is big currently right now. But it's really nice to see this rebirth of lacrosse throughout the United States. I don't know if many people know, but this is probably the original American sport. It was actually created up in New York by Iroquois Native Americans. And so this is an American sport through and through. You can go and see YouTube videos of indigenous people of the United States making old fashioned lacrosse sticks and that whole process. So it's really nice to see this surge of the growth of lacrosse recently. And I remember when I was in high school, it was kind of slowly creeping into Southern Virginia where I was, and that's where I kind of fell in love with the sport. In my family personally, one of my great uncles was actually a lacrosse player up in Springfield, Massachusetts, and did play for the university back in the day. So it's a sport that, yes, it was very prominent in the north, but it's really great to see it coming down south. And it's got a huge following in Florida. So we just needed to come down from Atlanta up from Florida to get Muscogee County. And they do have programs out in Auburn. So even though you can't find it right now throughout Columbus, it doesn't mean that people can't go out to Auburn, which is just 45 minutes away, to go and start learning and getting their kids in it at a very young age. The beauty of lacrosse is, though, it is a sport that you can pick it up pretty quickly. And the idea of catching and cradling the ball. But this year, I'm excited to say the girls are doing great. We just won the championship, so we will be playing in the state tournament. We did get a first round bye because we were the first place in our area. So we won't be playing in the state tournament until May 1st or 2nd, and we have the privilege to host again this year. We've been the area champs, I think, for as long as the program has been running.
Well, I tell you, right now, 5-3 overall, 2-0 in the area. You clinched the area when you got that win over McDonough. We were there at Terry Gaines Field on the call, live streaming lacrosse for the very first time on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. A livid sports fan. I love play-by-play. Didn't know the first thing about lacrosse. I had to look up the rules. And when I did the broadcast, I was very intrigued. It is very exciting, fast-paced. You got spin moves. You got players going behind the net and flick it into the goal. You've got long passes. It's really a fun sport, and it's very high scoring. I do want to talk about that game against Carrollton because you did have the 5-2 lead. Carrollton, a very solid team, and they normally play in 6A and the other sports. But just talk about just what you learned about your team playing Carrollton, however, falling 10-8 at Terry Gaines Field. But I mean, right there, the game was within reach, and you had the lead. And I thought you played very well, but there were some things that what are you thinking that your opinion was of that game?
After watching the film and analyzing it, we still need to work on our transitions. They're a lot faster. Literally the day after we had practice, we were working on executing dodges coming out of a transition and making sure we capitalize on those possessions when our defense does get the turnover. And even working what we call coming off draw, which is how we start after a goal, just getting into the idea of being able to score within that 10 seconds. So whether it's a pass, whether it's a dodge. So those are things we're working on. That's something I pull from Carrollton. It was really hard to lose our starting draw. To kind of stand out athlete this year. She's definitely ranked right now in assists. I don't know where, but when we last checked, she was number 1 out of seniors, but I think she's number 2 now because we were on spring break, so we haven't been able to play a game. But losing her, it definitely put a shift in the game. But what I did learn about the girls, though, is that they were coming. We started to come back. We just kind of ran out of time. But so I know my girls are not going to give up, and they're going to keep going. And that's the biggest thing about lacrosse is you can't get down on yourself. You have to stay up at all times and just fight through. So that's one thing that we're working on as a team currently. But really, right now is that transition ball is really where we've been kind of struggling this season, but we've been building on it each time. And I think at the McDonough game, we were really utilizing and capitalizing those transitions balls. But with Carrollton, the girls were getting swarmed immediately. We in that no man's land, what I kind of call it, between the restraining lines, and so they weren't passing the ball as quickly, and we were kind of holding on to it. So in our next game, I'm hoping the girls capitalize on those drills we've been working on with the dodge and pass, or when we get into the 8-meter, a dodge and shoot. So those are the things we're hoping to capitalize on in our next game.
Yeah, and Andy Majors, your leading goal scorer, she had 2 goals in that game. Unfortunately, she left the game early because of injury. You also had a great game by several other players, including Claire Beeler, who had 2 goals. Layla Norell had a great game. Also, Serenity Hickman. I mean, there's some familiar names on this team. Andy Majors plays on the volleyball team.
My
Serenity
flag
Hickman.
football star.
Yes, the quarterback from the flag football
Yeah,
team that was in the state
she's
championship.
a midi. She's one of my mids. Yeah, she's very
Just,
fast off the ball. She's a game changer just because the ability to change direction so quickly. And surprisingly, Claire is actually a catcher in softball. And Claire plays a really unique position.
yes.
She plays attack, but she's what we call our crew player. So she is someone that, if I call it, when her and I have a thing, we call it roly-poly-oly. When I say roly-poly-oly, she knows what we call rolling the crease, and she cuts it, and she shoots and score. And so but the thing about Claire, which makes her so unique, is not only is she an elite crease player, she's also what we call our feeder. And so we run plays. She's the one, she facilitates it. She's almost like what Serenity was in flag football. She's my quarterback, her in the back. Her and Andy do switch off doing that. She's going to have a great, Layla's only in June. She's got a lot going, and she's a great player. Her off the ball movement, it helps so much, and her ability to cut and get open is what helps her to be able to score those goals. But yes, Serenity, I know she's a flag football star, but she's also a lacrosse star on the field. Just the way she attacks the goal. Another star standout we have is Janie Boyd. She's so strong in the shots and standing on defense and drawing what we call shooting spaces. So elite at it. And so our attack this year they're just doing phenomenal. But the one group that never gets shout out, and I say this as I was a defender in field hockey, is our defense. Even though we did drop that game, we have had such a resurgence in our defense this year. And with Samantha Majors leading the defense back there, the amount of turnovers she causes, the amount of interceptions she has, she's really helping our defense kind of find their footing this year. And we also have another young player, Briella Hyde. She's only a sophomore, but she's got a great future ahead of her as a defender. It's really hard. She just moved here from New York. Her dad's also military. And she came into the year not knowing much and not knowing much about the team. She played lacrosse in New York, but she came in and she fit right into the defense really well. And I know Rhea, our goalie, is just having a great year. Um,
Oh,
she really worked hard in the off season, and I can see it day in and day out. So I feel like this year we just have such a complete team, and even though we do have those standout stars on attack, you got to remember the defense too. And we have a very solid defense, and we have Summer and Jaleesa who are amazing crease defenders. I know if when I was playing lacrosse, if I had to go against them, I've been very frustrated because they know how to lock that crease down.
all right. The final home game of the season, April the 11th at Terry Gaines Field, taking on Woodward Academy. It's going to be senior night. Just talk about the atmosphere playing in the final regular season game as you get ready for the playoffs, and what does that mean to your seniors to play in front of a crowd that honors them, especially with lacrosse being the only sport here in Columbus, as far as this is the only team with lacrosse, and just talk about those seniors and what they mean to you.
Yeah, I think the girls are excited about the game, they always just get really hyped for senior night, and of course that's just such a special night, and we're going to have a huge crowd out there because our girls, and that's why we have an amazing announcer this year. His name's Dr. Michael Armstrong. He's a teacher at East Magnet Academy. He's actually my neighbor. I also teach at East Magnet Academy, but he's going to bring so much energy for these seniors, and I think it's going to help them just kind of feel so good. And to be the first senior class to have their own lacrosse field, I think just makes a massive deal for them. And that's our last home game, and we have two really tough ones to end out our season. Our last game is versus Decatur, I think is how you say it, Decatur. I'm not from here, sorry. But they're a real tough team, so we're actually ending the season probably with one of our hardest games of the year, which is going to get us ready for that next competition, because we're going to be going against Area 3 or Area 1, and those are no joke conferences in the Division 1 lacrosse league. So to finish out the season with the games that we have, are going to really prepare us for whatever area we end up getting seeded against in the state playoff. But I am excited for our seniors. Again, they get to play their last home game on our lacrosse field. So I think it's just a really big deal. And I know Dr. Armstrong is going to bring the excitement for the girls and for our crowd and hype them up throughout the entire game.
Well, I cannot wait. I know that the fans that want to see lacrosse can't wait either. My final question to you, Coach, is the growth of the sport. Columbus is the only school in this area that has a lacrosse team. In fact, you got to travel up to Atlanta. I think the nearest team might be Stars Mill out of Fayetteville. There is lacrosse at LaGrange College. That could be an opportunity for any local members to possibly get a scholarship and play lacrosse at the next level. But talk about the growth of the sport. Have you heard anybody talk about other schools in this area possibly getting
I
getting
think
lacrosse
Coach Battles, he's trying. Coach Battles, I think, is trying his best. But my lacrosse girls are getting together to come to my middle school one day and help out my PE teacher to coach to do a little lesson for the kids. But what we need to start doing in the middle schools, and so that there is that interest. It's not just Muscogee County, but the community needs to come together to help grow the sport. We have so much talent in Muscogee County. The amount of athletic talent in Muscogee County is just, it's amazing. And I say that as a middle school teacher. And so I'm at a lot of middle school games, and just to see the amount of talent that is coming out of Muscogee County, there's no reason we can't have more lacrosse teams. But that does come from the community as well. It's the want to have the sport. There was a want at Columbus, which helped to grow the sport, and now they've just they've been able to kind of bring it there. I think the next step for Columbus High School hopefully would be a boys lacrosse team, and so that we can grow it that way. But I would love to see the sport grow, and I know Coach Battles really wants the sport to grow. And one of our managers, he's a Columbus High football player. He loves to come out there and play with us. He's like, I kind of wish there was a boys team so I could play. So we love having Ray Sean out there. He's a Columbus High football player, and he does track too, so he kind of balances track and lacrosse right now. But I know he's someone that said, like, it'd be fun to have a boys team, and it really would, because boys lacrosse is also vastly different than girls lacrosse, and so it's kind of like football. But I would love to see the sport grow. I would love to see all kind of these non-traditional sports grow, like field hockey and lacrosse, because good at them. On an international level, a lot of people don't know. We're like number one in the world for lacrosse. If it's not us, it's Canada. And then for field hockey, I'll say we're always in the top 20. So these are sports that I want to see grow throughout the Southeast.
Oh, absolutely. And you got the Georgia Swarm over there in Atlanta that, their season's about to start, and they won a championship a couple years ago. And I know that lacrosse is going to grow. And I do want to say this because it is a spring sport. They play softball in the fall. I know that you're competing with athletes that are playing soccer, playing track and field. It is possible to play multiple sports in the spring. I know somebody that plays soccer and tennis. These coaches will work with you. And I know that would be just a great opportunity to try to get some of these other schools, maybe like a Brookstone or like a Pacelli, to have a lacrosse team. And then that way Columbus could get some competition within this area.
It'd be nice not to drive 3 hours for a game.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a pleasure having you on the Muscogee County Coaches Show. Good luck on the 11th against Woodward Academy. And looking forward to seeing how the season plays out, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, that is the Columbus lacrosse coach, Stephi Stuart. Thank you so much for watching another edition of the Muscogee County Coaches Show. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.